How's it going, folks? Welcome to the Onewheel podcast. Today we have special guest Tyler James, the 2021 Race for the Rail champion, also my colleague here at Onewheel. This is a great one. We get to learn a little bit about Tyler's history, how he got into surfing, how he got into onewheeling, what was it like to win Race for the Rail, and just overall just good vibes and really kind of learning about this epic Stoke legend here. So you're not going to want to miss this one. Don't forget to subscribe to the Onewheel YouTube channel and enjoy. Thanks. Good waves, clean conditions. No scoring for Tyler James.
No scoring for me.
I
rookie moved it and slept in, but I had a headache. So
Reflecting back on that moment of sleeping in, do you feel like you should have gone out earlier?
No. I think in my head, the two surfs before, the day before, were like kind of, I didn't drink enough water. So I woke up with like a pounding headache. So if it would have been like me forcing myself to surf, and it wouldn't have been like a good surf, because every time I would have shaken my head, I would have been like, oh.
So do you find that when you force yourself to surf, you have less like worse sessions?
Yeah.
It's just about...
You just want to be frothed. Like you want to look at the Surfline cam and just see the waves and be like, it's a drop all. Right now I'm going. Like, where's the suit? That's you don't want to hesitate. You don't want to see the fog in the morning. You want to see clean lines rolling through.
Dang.
And offshore winds, of course.
How long have you been, before, when you started surfing, was Surfline a thing?
I think Surfline might have just been getting started when it was a thing, when I was surfing like 15.
Do you experience surfing life without Surfline? Or has Surfline for you always been around? It's like the cell phone thing.
Yeah. I think I experienced surfing without it because I didn't have an iPhone until I couldn't even look at Surfline until I was like 16, I think. And I only started surfing when I was 15, So
you got a little bit of experience in there without it.
Yeah, a little bit of experience without it. I didn't get to go check the waves. I had to actually go to the beach.
How crazy, man. Like, you don't even have to go outside to see if you want to do it.
Yeah.
And isn't that like, that's part of the whole thing, is like going out and checking it, even if it's not good.
Yeah, it definitely is part of it.
How do you think that's changed like the culture around surfing?
Man, I think it's probably like made a lot less people going out. It's probably helped the crowds a little bit because people now are just like, it's not that good. They're checking on their phone. So they're not really getting like the visual of it. They're not heading to the beach, frothing out like, I'm itching for a wave. So I think there's something to say about just checking on your phone and being like, it's not that good. And when you actually go there and you're like, there's a little wave, kind of looks fun. You can't really get the full aura of how it actually is with Surfline. So you actually do have to still go check it, even if you are checking Surfline. If you're a true surfer.
True surfer.
Yeah.
What delineates a true surfer from a not true surfer? And obviously this is your opinion.
Yeah, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
I would say conditions, like if the waves are big or if the waves are like even cloudy, like that's just like, I wasn't a true surfer. I'm sometimes not a true surfer. Like it happens. Like you get lazy, and I'm going to be older tomorrow. So I'm always stoked to get out like right now because I'll be a day older tomorrow. So if I keep doing that. And also I saw an Instagram thing. It was saying like, you're only for 20 years from now, you'll want to be this age. Like you'll do anything to be this age again. And it's like, if I'm not surfing every day or doing some kind of activity, I'm just getting older and like not using my body to its full potential. So that's what I'm all about. I know you're all about that.
All about it.
Yeah.
I love that philosophy. And going off of the, being stoked to surf every day, or at least like having that energy, you are what I would claim like Stoke Lord. Your energy and positivity every day when I walk in this office is amazing. How do you do it?
Man, I I'm just stoked. Like I am so thankful for everything I have. I think it must have been just my prior experiences. Like I'm just pumped. Like every single day is a blessing. I'm just waking up and I'm like, it's really is. I'm so grateful to be here at Onewheel HQ. So rad to be hanging out with you guys. It's just like, there's not a lot to complain about. There's so many blessings, so many good things that are in my life that it's like, how could I be bummed? It's just like I mean, maybe I get bummed about the waves, but then I'm like, you know what, let's just go snowboard or let's go one wheel. So I just think just knowing all the things I have, I'm like so grateful. And I've definitely gained that experience from being somewhere else. Like when I lived in South Africa and seeing, just the poverty and like what they have and like everything we have here. Like if you're just living, you're in America, you're not in South Africa. So it's like there's like a level here where it's like everybody here is already at a high level. So like you can succumb and do that and live on the street or do drugs and do that. But it's like you can also elevate yourself to go surfing, to go snowboarding, to work out, to encourage other people to do their full potential of what they actually are. And that's what I thoroughly think I am motivated to do, is make my body as best as possible, because in 20 years time, I'm probably going to want to have this body again and I'm not going to be looking that good. So yeah, I'm just stoked right now. And I think every single day is a good day and it's what you make it. So yeah.
I agree with that. It's every single day is an opportunity. That's something that shifted in me the past like 5 years or so, is just knowing that like if I wake up, we're like, how could I complain? Right? You know, like whether dealing with personal issues or you know, anything. If I wake up and I get to live a life that I want to live, like I am super grateful for that. And practicing gratitude every day is like really made me hone in on how special the opportunities that whatever it is I get to do. But a lot of that is you make those opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
Going back to South Africa, because we've talked a lot about your experience in South Africa. What kind of got you there? Like tell me about like the time frame, why you went to South Africa, and just tell me about like your journey there, because that's so interesting.
Yeah, so I was in high school and graduation was coming up. I pretty much had the coolest last 6 months of high school, because I had surf PE, art, and like drawing. It was like I had the super easy schedule. So I was really doing a lot of chilling and hanging out, surfing, and my dad was like, kind of could see that I didn't really want to do school, because I like not right off the bat. So he encouraged me to take a gap year, and I was like, okay, what are you thinking? And he's like, do you want to go surf in South Africa? And I was like, and he's like, do you want to go surf in J-Bay specifically? And I was like, J-Bay, oh, that's a good wave. Like, I'm down. Like, why not? Let's do it. And he's like, well, you won't have a summer. You'll leave a week after you graduate. And I was like, no way. He's like, I can't have a summer. I'm just all my friends. So the last time they're all going to be going to college. And I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to college. I had good grades and stuff, but I just didn't apply. I wasn't thinking of going to school just yet. So I pretty much took on my dad's idea of going to South Africa, and he booked the flights, got me into this program called Sea Salt. It's a Christian leadership program. And I flew over there, and my dad actually wrote me he wrote my entire life in third person.
What?
Yeah. On a like 21 page thing. And it was like, there's this son and this boy, and they grew up together. And like, that's how the story was told. And I read this whole thing, and I just like bawled my eyes out for like the first flight for like the 8-hour flight. I was just like crying, like, oh my gosh, like my dad literally like just told a story of me, and like from his perspective, like from a perspective outside. And it really like, it shook me, and it like made me realize in that moment, like heading there was like, I was going there with no one. I knew no one. I didn't know one person in South Africa. I literally was like, I didn't even realize it until I was on the plane. I was like, yeah, I'm just going here. Like,
was this your first time out of the country?
No, I've been out of the country before to Nicaragua. I've done other missions trips and helped out. But this was like the first one where I was going alone, like solo. I wasn't going with the team or anything. I was literally like going on a 27-hour plane ride by myself and leaving my dad and my whole family and everything I know, all my friends. And yeah, I just was like, whoa, that was a big jump. 18 years old. And I got there, and I just remember being with this one guy, Fabi, and he was a little bit older than me, but we got to hang out and do this program together. And on the plane ride over, back up a little. On the plane ride over, after reading that letter, I met this one guy named Tom on the plane randomly, just like only person I spoke to the entire time. Probably looked like I was bawling my eyes out, but like he talked to me and was like, where are you going? And I told him I'm going to J-Bay to do this program. And he's like, oh, I'll be there with my son. I run this nonprofit called Surfers Not Street Children. It's in Durban. I'm coming up with my son. You should come check it out. Meet my son, meet one of the guys. So I did, and I met him. And then from there, after being in J-Bay for 4 months, one of the part of the program was to go somewhere and see like what you could possibly be doing in South Africa, like if you were going to stay. And I went and visited Tom for a month. And as soon as I got there, I knew this is where I had to be. Warm water, gorgeous waves, gorgeous beachfront. Like there's a big promenade. So it's kind of like Huntington Beach. That's what I would say. It's like super, super nice, built out beach. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it was just a tropical paradise. I was like close to Mozambique, which is like literally the sickest place in the world. Seychelles is like, if people most likely would know Seychelles, it's kind of like that vibe. And I knew this is where I had to be. And so I went back to J-Bay and I told my dad, hey, I want to come back. I want to get a new visa. So I flew back home with my ticket, and Tom wrote up a visa for me for 3 years, and I got a 3-year visa and then came right back. So I was home for a month, for 30 days, saw all my friends. They're like, oh, how's South Africa? Oh, it's so sick. I'm going back in 30 days. See you guys. Just been surfing and hanging and really just enjoying my time there. It was pretty crazy. It was an awesome experience. Tebo, Makolide, Tsando, Sishle, Spoo, so many names. Sneh. Yeah, there's a lot of homies out there that were good brothers of mine, and they did not accept me in the beginning. That was for sure. It was definitely like I was some white guy coming from California, like, oh, this guy's some rich guy that's just got money and he's stoked to be here hanging out with us and serving us, but he's probably just going to leave in a little bit. So that's kind of the mentality I got for the first like 2 months there. And then I finally was like, you know what? Like I'm just going to live like these guys. Like they actually took a lot of my stuff. They stole my baggies. They stole my, my boxers, my socks. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? We're in this boat together. We both don't have a lot. I've got my board shorts, my surfboard, my camera, and that's all I need. And like water and food. And like, that's like what I was just living like that. And these guys knew they couldn't get rid of me. And it kind of like irked them because they knew I was different than a lot of the people or white people that they have met before. And so they finally started accepting me and literally, loving me and listening to me and asking me for advice, asking me for help. And we really just connected on a way different level on this brotherly, I would say, journey together. And all these guys have, just to give you a reference, they have been living on the street, these 7 guys, specifically since 4 to 6 years old, like all of them. like they had their own robots, but they would all like know each other and help each other, because they would, a lot of the times they would get rounded up and driven out of the city, beaten up by the police, and then dropped out, stripped of their blankets, stripped naked, and they would huddle back and walk back to the city light. And like that's these guys that I live with. They're like brothers. Like you don't mess with these guys. And now they're all surfers. So, which is the coolest part, because they're like, we're on the street living, like surviving, and now they're literally thriving in the ocean and working in their communities, helping, encouraging other younger kids. And yeah, it was so cool to come in there at that time at being, I was 19 at the time. Yeah, 18, half 19. And just like same age as these guys, and just like sharing what I learned from my dad. They didn't have a dad, just like sharing the love that my dad gave me with them, and just like, and also encouraging them to learn about their heavenly Father, which is Jesus. And that's like, for me, like it did open up my eyes, because I have always been fed Christian. And it didn't really hit until finally I was like in with these guys, and these guys have nothing. Like they have nothing. They have water and food, and if they don't have that, then they'll go and get it. They'll steal it.
Yeah.
So like when I told my dad, these guys are never going to listen to me. And I told them about this guy, and they're like, dude, this guy's sick. And from there they were like even more stoked. And it was like this, I couldn't even told you how like if I go there now, like we have like 6 homies behind us, like ready to, like we go there deep. I roll deep with the boys there, dude. Like I always tell people, like, I wish I can, even my white friends there, they're like, they all know that like I'm protected like crazy. And it was such a unique thing to gain there. 'Cause I don't think it's like and what I'm saying about like my white friends is they thought it was crazy of me to live with them there. They're like, you're going to get hurt. It's not safe. All their families were like, you shouldn't be doing that. And I just like knew I had to be doing it. And all of my friends that were white there really like go there now. They hang out there. They go to this community where they weren't able to go before and hang out with them. And they literally do that. And they still reach out to me and send me photos of them hanging out with the boys at the beach and stuff, and at the surf house. And it's like, I'm so stoked that I was able to be a part of that in that time, because I feel like that was just like a part of me. Like I was just finding who I was there, and I found it with like the coolest group of dudes that I ever could have. And I think that's definitely changed me like a lot. And coming here now back in the States, like it's really made me realize that, yeah, that there's not a lot that matters in this earth, besides like the friendships you have, the relationships you make, and the people you love on. 'Cause like everything else is going to be gone, and we're all living forever. I mean, there's no ways that's kind of what I believe. But
dude, I love it. I love all of, like, you saw an opportunity and you didn't know what was going to happen. You experienced adversity and you were curious. And those are like the most important things to experience at a young age, is how are you going to deal with challenges? How are you going to seek out new experiences and kind of go against the grain of what everybody else is doing? Like, you didn't go to college. You took the gap year, you know. It's a really unique experience, and I think that really says a lot to the type of person that you are, because a lot of people just kind of follow that one track and follow what we're told we should do. You know, go to 4 years, get a job, buy a house, do this, you know, do that. And I feel like those experiences, like I've traveled to many different countries early on in my early 20s, and I wouldn't be who I am today without those experiences. So kind of touching on your dad real quick, Craig. I've gotten to know Craig. He's a great guy. Shout out Craig. but you know, he obviously wanted to raise you a little bit different and allow you to just like prosper in any way that you did. What were some of the things like when you were younger that you would do like with your dad or?
Yeah, me and my dad would go to Indian guides. That's like one of the main things I remember. Not like Boy Scouts. It was more a little bit gnarlier, grungier. We didn't learn how to tie ropes. We more shot arrows and digged in the sand. But yeah, me and my dad, we got to do so many cool camping trips and with other dads too, and other friends of mine growing up. So that was really, camping was always just the thing me and my dad were doing where, hey, mom has a retreat this weekend. We're going camping and we're going to watch movies and chill. Me and my dad would always watch movies when we were going camping. He'd have his little setup. And it was like so funny to me that because he thought it was so cool that you could watch a movie in a tent. And I was like, yeah, that is so sick. Like, but yeah, that's just some memories that I would say really stuck out were also climbing the Grand Tetons. That was huge. Me and my dad did this like into manhood thing. And it was climbing the Grand Tetons, getting gun certified, river rafting guide certified, couple others, but it was like these 6 or 5 main things that we did. And we took it was over a period of like 3 years with other dads and sons. And it was, one moment was really crazy. It was climbing the Grand Tetons in Wyoming and being the second youngest guy to do it, the youngest kid to do it, and not having any water or food on the way up. I got altitude sickness. And I started throwing up at like 3 a.m.
What?
Yeah. And the guy told me, I kept going. The guy's like, hey, you shouldn't do this hike. Like you should do the small one. And I was like, no ways. Like, no, there's no ways. My dad and his buddy paid for this. Like, I'm not doing the small one. I'm doing the big one. And he's like, okay, we'll try it. So we went and I kept throwing up the entire way up, just more altitude.
Dude.
Yeah. And the guide tells me, hey, if you throw up again, we're turning around. And I was like, dang.
You're just like holding it in.
Yeah, I was just holding it. And he goes around a corner and sets up this like belay, and my dad's like handing me water still, like trying to get something in me. Cause like I can't even hold water down. And I just threw up all over again. And I'm like, I just remember like throwing up in the rocks and I was like, Dad, don't tell him. I was like, don't tell him. Don't, like, let's go. And like, we kept going and getting to the top. Like when I felt like there was like something telling me, like, didn't want me there, like didn't want me at the top. And like, when I got to the top, I was like, I just felt this relief. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. Like out of everything telling me to turn around, I've never like fought something like so aggressively to like literally go up this hill. It was like everything was telling me not to do it, but I knew I had to do it, not only for myself, but just like for my dad and his friend. And like, I was encouraged to go up this mountain with no food and no water. So yeah, I got to the top and it was a sick moment. And me and my dad walked down, and I actually remember walking down was the craziest because I felt like I didn't know what was happening. I was just hallucinating the whole time down. Like I was just walking like aimlessly, it felt like, and I would just like walk off the cliff, and like this guy tied a rope to me. The guide tied a rope to me and would pull me back off the cliff side because I would just walk. So he had like 2 ropes on me going down, belaying me, and I was probably looking like so out of it. And just finally, when I got down to the bottom, I slept for like 3 hours, woke up and was like fine, and then ran down the entire way down.
Dang.
And that was my dad. I beat my dad down and everyone else does. But it was a crazy experience, and it definitely, yeah, my dad encouraged me, and I think just doing that is like, yeah, you don't want to do things you always you might always want to give up if things come your way. And it's like, my dad's always encouraged me not to give up and like keep pushing. And, you know, he's a cool dude. He's a legend. If you he'll talk your ear off, but
he is
he's got a lot of good stuff to say.
The reason I chuckle at that story is because I was in the Tetons last year, and he was sending me DMs like, "Oh yeah, me and Tyler climbed the Grand Teton, and like he got a little sick, but he did it. He was, badass." And then you're like, "Yeah, dude, I was puking all the way the whole time." It's like, "Oh, I left out a few details, Craig."
Yeah, I was messed up. That was a hard trip. It was a hard trip.
That's pretty
But
sick.
it was a great experience. My dad has done so many cool things for me. He's always encouraged me with my sports. So I didn't surf till I was 15, so I was doing lacrosse, soccer, and I dropped all my sports actually for surfing. Once I found surfing, I was like, oh, this is it.
What was it about surfing that made you just be like, okay, peace out traditional sports?
I think it just was, it's like it's just way cooler. Like you have to wait for the wave. There's no sport where, I guess snowboarding, you have to wait for snow, but then once the snow's there, you can make the features and stuff. It's just like being in the water, and the water is the most thing on this earth too. So there's something so humbling about just being in liquid without, like, you're not in a pool or anything. You're in a pool with like a bunch of creatures and stuff. There's just something so unique about being out there in the water. It's so calming, and it's just the way water moves is like scientists can't even explain how water moves. They don't know why. So it's like that for me when I'm just spraying, slashing lip, or just like learning new maneuvers. Like it's the best. It's the coolest feeling. It's literally like you're floating on a cloud. Like if people are like, oh, I wish I could like fly, soar through the clouds. It's like, dude, go float on water. Like
it is like I wouldn't call myself a surfer, but having been out a bunch and just the feeling of getting up on a wave and being able to just ride it and feel the push, and you forget everything.
Yeah,
like you are in the moment.
Yeah.
Whether it's flow state or not, everything goes out the window, and the only thing that matters is then and
Totally.
now. Like that's it.
Yeah, there's something powerful about that. Like like you said, everything goes out of your mind when you're on that wave. Like you're only thinking about that wave.
Yeah.
It's pretty unique.
So with surfing, you picked it up at 15, which is wild because, I don't know, just knowing you and not knowing that you picked it up at 15, I'd assume that you were in the water at like 3, slapping lip, doing all these things. Where did surfing lead you to? Didn't you compete for a little while?
Yeah, so I pretty much met one of my good friends, Alec. He taught me how to surf, and I surfed every single day for 2 years. Like I did not miss a day. Like I was hungry to get better. And I knew first year I was like I wasn't that good at surfing. Second year I was like decent at surfing, and I think it was 20 or like 26th on the Western qualifying series, or like I was pretty low on the totem pole. And then the year following, so third year of surfing, I was second. So like there was something happened between like the second and third year that like clicked. It was like I went from like 26th or something to like second in the Western qualifying series, and I was like doing good in NSSA. I was doing well in all the WQSs. So I had a few sponsors: EcoX gear, Kobe and sandals, had Bill Johnson surfboards, some surfboard brand, some surfboards sponsoring me. And it really was, it was pretty cool because I got to, I had brands hooking me up with free stuff. They didn't pay me or anything, so I got free stuff, and I was just stoked to go surf. And the competitions started getting, started happening more, and pretty much it just came down to me kind of giving up on it. Like I didn't push or train as much as I did. I kind of was more in the high school, hanging with my buddies, skating. Yeah, I mean, I definitely I would say I didn't fully fledged push on that as much as I would want to have done. And even today I'm like, dang, I can surf pretty good. And like, I know if I was to train even now, I probably could do some damage on the tour. So I'm like, that encourages me. And I think I'm still like holding out on that. So honestly, I'd just be so stoked to pull up on a one wheel at a surfing event and just beat out John Florence. Like, dude, or like anybody. Like if I just pull like, oh man, that feeling would be, because I honestly don't even care to be like that good anymore. It's just like, I want them to know like I ride a one wheel and like, look what I can do on a surfboard. Like,
yeah, there's that weird like disconnect with some people. They think you're like one thing.
Yeah, they think you're one thing. Yeah, like totally. Like, oh, that guy's riding a one wheel, can't air reverse. Like you could I probably get so much judgment. Yeah. And I think I don't know what it is, but this is just random. But I love when people judge people and they can totally change they're like, it almost like a slap in their face. Like after, because they're like, they think something like oh, that guy can't even do that. And then completely change. You're completely wrong, but you don't say it. There's no words spoken.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I don't know what that is, but I've noticed that a lot with people, especially riding one wheel and being a cyclist. You know, it's like people have this perception that it's like you're one or the other. And I had an experience this past weekend with somebody that came up and like, I was talking to him and which was whatever, he put me in, I was a one wheeler to him. And I was like, bro, like what? Like we just had this exchange and he like put himself in a mountain biker group and me in one wheel group. And I'm like, I do both. Like I ride that, biking is my life, dude. Like I ride bikes nonstop, but I also one wheel. And you could do that. And it's just like this weird, like, I don't know if it's an ego thing or whatever, but I do love that when it's like you could rip a wheel, but then you could hop on a different type of board or do a different activity and people are like, oh. And I feel like that's everybody in the one wheel community has that. Like Bodie is an insane stand-up paddleboarder, you know, like, but like not a lot of folks know that. Yeah. Because it's just, obviously, it's
all
like
one wheeling. You see a lot of one wheeling. Yeah.
So going from surfing to one wheel, so you took off. Like, how'd you first get into one wheel? I kind of know the story a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it was pretty crazy. I got back from South Africa and I got a job at a CBD place when CBD was booming before COVID, and this one guy actually had a one wheel at my office, and he was like a weirder dude. I would say he wasn't a weird dude. He was just kind of an odd guy, but he was chill. He was cool. We talked. But this device he got, I was kind of like, what is that thing? Like asked him, tried to ride it once in the parking lot. And I was like, no ways. That is so sketch. I'm going to die. Like, and he was kind of acting like it was a really expensive product. Oh, it's $2,000. Look at this thing, riding it all slow, like just like cruising through the parking lot. I was like, bro, you should be ripping on that thing if you can ride it. Like that was my thought. I was watching him like ride it slow and like baby it. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't spend $2,000 on something that I have to baby. That's dumb. I didn't say that to his face, but I was thinking that. So yeah, I just kind of moved on, kept surfing. And then finally one day at the beach, it was 12 o'clock after in Encinitas on Moonlight Beach. Moonlight Beach. This one buddy of mine, Shaden, I would give it to him for really teaching me. He had 4 one wheels in his van, built out van. Dang. And I was like, dang, like those things are sick. I heard they're really expensive and that they break easily. That was kind of my mentality on them.
The classic,
yeah. And he's like, no, man, go ride on the sand. And I was like, what? On the sand? Isn't that going to like hurt them? He's like, no, just don't get them wet. And I was like, oh, okay, sick. Full moon, 4 of my buddies all on wheels, never ever ridden before, bombing down Moonlight on a low tide, full moon. Like we were riding for like 10 miles down the beach, all the way up, falling all over, eating it in the sand. No consequences because we're just loving it.
Just having a blast
in the middle of the night. And I was like, next day at $2,000 gone. that was like, you sold me on, it was like that. I knew, and that's the thing with money too. Like when it comes to something that I'm sold on, it's like, it doesn't matter what it is. That's what I want. And I knew I wanted that board. So I asked him next day, hey, can I buy one? And I bought one. And then the next day I sold it. And then I bought a new one.
Why'd you do that? Just trying to, were you like upselling it or whatever?
No, I didn't even upsell it. I actually was like, I wanted a new one. Like I just was like, I want to have my own miles. Like I like bought one, and this one had like 450 miles. And then I was like, I love this. This is so sick. I want a brand new one with every upgrade. So I went and got the hypercharger, got everything with my XR. And then, so I bought that one. Literally, I bought one and then bought another one, but then sold my other one. So I already hooked up another wheeler right away, which was rad. And I actually still know that guy. I don't forget his name, but I say my group rides in San Diego every once in a while. But he's got my first wheel ever.
That's
that
pretty
guy.
awesome.
Yeah, I tell him that too. I'm like, you got my first wheel ever, dude. I should buy it back. So yeah, I got into one wheeling, and I just kind of was like cocky, I would say in the beginning. Cause like with something that you see that you're like, I can rip this, or like, it's kind of like with surfing, like of course there's so many surfers out there. A lot of people rip, like it's hard to be number one. With one wheeling, it's like, I was like, dang, there's like a couple good guys, but no one's like really crushing it. And I was like, my idea was to be the barefoot bandit. I wanted to come in and race these guys completely barefooted, and I wanted to smoke them barefooted. That was like my idea, was like, these guys are wearing shoes. I'm going to be barefoot bandit Ty, ripping like a surfboard on this board. Like that was my mentality coming in. And just gives you an idea of like my cockiness. It's like, I'm going to be barefoot on this thing. I'm a surfer. Like,
and you realized that was,
I realized, it's not gonna work. I tried bombing hills, and I was ripping for 3 months. I actually saw Kyle Hansen's video, and I told Kyle, I messaged on Instagram. I was like, dude, I can do this. That's like all I said. I was like, I can do this. And then he was like, dude, he's like, come on, let's see it. Like, bring it on. Like, come on.
Awesome.
And then his camera buddy who actually filmed the video was like, screw you, man. Like, you're such an idiot. You can't do anything this guy does. You're a loser. And then Kyle actually told that guy to like keep quiet. And I was like, what the heck? This guy's like, I'm tuning this guy. And then this guy's backing me up from his other buddy tuning me. And I was like, this guy must be a good guy. Like I shouldn't have called this guy out, baby. Like, so anyways, I was like, I kind of ate my words, like I was saying before.
Yeah.
And I really tried and practiced to get a video out for the year floaty one, that to get a video to get into Race for the Rail.
Uh-huh.
So all my videos were all barefoot, bombing down hills, hitting big berms, like doing toe spins. Like I was just ripping on the wheel all barefoot. And finally I got to the stage where I was like, my video is not as good as Kyle's. And I was like, I'm not going to put something out that's not part of what his is, or else I just feel ashamed. So I messaged him and said, hey, here's my clips, sent him some clips. And I was like, this is what I could do, but I could never do what you did. And I just want to apologize. And like, I reached out to him and said, hey, like, I would love to hang out with you and meet up with you sometime and go for a ride. And Kyle's like, dude, let's come rip sometime. Let's hang out. Super down. You're ripping. You're good. And we went and rode one day, and he rode the entire time with headphones in for like 45 minutes, maybe in like an hour. And for 30 minutes, he did not talk to me. He was just riding, and I was following him.
He was in the zone.
In the zone. Like I'm not even kidding. I remember this to this day, like riding through downtown with Kyle Hansen. No one's gone through downtown faster than me and him. Like nobody. And like it's just, he knows that place, like at his old shop, was like, we were lapping, just, it was crazy. And I was like, finally he turns around and looks at me. He's like, oh, dude, you're still there. And I was like, yeah, dude, sick, you're ripping, dude. I was like, this is fun. He's like, I've never had anyone stay behind me, like, or be able to keep up with me like that. And I was like, hell yeah, like, that's rad. And yeah, we just started riding like all the time. Like we always would hit trails, and this was like right in the beginning of COVID too. So this was like, I was laid off from my job. Kyle's business was doing really good because with a bunch of people getting wheels and stuff. So everything, wheel fun stuff. So everything was going good, and their shop was great. They were looking to get a bigger shop. So everything was really doing good, and I just was stoking on the wheel, to be honest. Like, I was like, this thing's so cool. This guy is so good on this thing, and he's teaching me. And yeah, I just literally 365 days later, like on the dot, me and Kyle Hansen were racing for 10 grand. Like, the guy that I called out, like, and that he taught me how to wheel. And I was like, this isn't real. Like, I told myself when I got the sport, I wanted to be the best. Like, I wanted to be the best. I'm going to be the best. Like, that's what I drilled into my head. And then I met this really humble, awesome dude that's like so genuine, and so much love from him that, like, you could never be mean to Kyle. Like, if you know Kyle, he's just the coolest dude. And it's like,
he's the chillest.
Yeah, he's the chillest. And I think me and him actually often, like, always get in little arguments, because I feel like me and him we're just good buddies. And it was super cool to be on the top of that hill right there. And literally my heart was saying, go get that. I said, you won. I said, Kyle, this is yours to win. I shouldn't be here. I had a torn ACL. I had a broken hand.
Yeah, you had a hand cast on.
Yeah, hand cast. I was messed up. Like, I couldn't believe that I was there. And I got there because I got voted in from all the other racers too.
You're a wild card.
Yeah, so yeah, and that was crazy too, just going to Seek and Shred and meeting all these racers for the first time, and really getting to, like, deepen my relationship with them. And they voted me in, and I was, like, hurt, and they were like, this guy deserves a shot. And I was there in the final with my coach. And
it's such a rad story. And, like, knowing how that all plays out, like, even the year before you, Floaty was a wild card, and then you were a wild card, but you were racing against the guy who, like, really taught you how to be good as hell.
Yeah.
And then this past year he wins, it's like, it's really cool to see. And I think there's something to say there about, like, just how it's not like how good people are, but it's just a matter of, like, you and folks like Kyle, like, just ride all the time. You're not, like, always going full send, but you're just, the board so well, both of you, and so many other people. And it's amazing to, like, watch this happen. And then, like, also know that both of you came from pretty much the same area, and, like, you are his, like, young Padawan in a way,
Yeah.
It's super rad.
Yeah, I'm very stoked to have met him. And yeah, it's super cool. Met Bodie, and, like, those guys have built the sport a lot. They make one wheeling cool. Like,
oh, I mean, I remember the first time I saw Bodie ride, it was just like, whoa. I didn't know any of that stuff was possible.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even doing half the stuff that he does today. Like, he was bonking and stuff, but, like, he was just starting to make body varials, look smooth and stuff. And I'm like, what? I'm just learning how to ride this thing, and here's this young guy. And it's just so admirable to see, like, and it's knowing that, like Kyle has a skate background. Yeah. You have multiple board sports. Bodie kills it on a skateboard too. Like everybody has these, like, different backgrounds, but it's what's cool about the one wheel is that you don't really need that. You just have to want to ride.
Yeah, totally.
You have to be curious. You have to just, like, want to explore your limits and knowing, like, what you could do with the board.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys do.
I think the one wheel is, like, it's so encouraging too for, like, anybody curious about board sports. Like, it is so anybody can one wheel. It's hard you're going to have to practice a lot to surf. Like, I'm going to have to take you and instruct you, like, probably, like, 30 times before you're on your own, paddling, catching waves, like, it takes a minute to learn how to surf or even to skate. Like, think of how many times those guys are doing 50-50s and handrails. Like, they're falling, like, most of the time probably 80, 90% of the time. And then they land the one. And it's like that persistence, and you don't have to do that with the one wheel. You just get on and you ride. And it's like, it's so encouraging, I would say, for me to know that I can tell someone that they can do something. Like, I love saying this. Like, I can instill power in people. Like, I can look at you and be like, you're a good looking dude, Laser. You're a freaking rad guy. Oh, you're such a legend. Like, you can instill me when you're talking, saying, oh, you guys just know the board so well. Like, you're empowering me. And there's something so epic about looking at someone and being like, they walk by, they see the one wheel, and they're like, oh, I don't think I could do that. I'd bust my ass. And it's like, dude, you can do that. Let me teach you how. Yeah. I'll be right here teaching you the entire time. You will not fall. Like, you can go and say that to someone in confidence. And like, you can't necessarily do that when you're teaching someone how to surf or skate. Like, they might eat shit and they might never do it again because they fall. So it's like, it's really such a cool device and an entryway into board sports for people that never have experienced that. And for that, I love sharing board sports because I personally am a firm believer in this. Like, you should do a bunch of different sports. You shouldn't just stick to one, like we were talking earlier. Like, you can't just identify yourself with one thing. Like, if I was identifying with just surfing, then I would probably not be the coolest guy, because I would go out in the lineup, I'd be angry. This is my wave. This is my local break. Like, there's not a good mentality around surfing. It's not sick. Like, I will say that surfing is way not inviting. Nothing inviting about surfing. It's literally like, you meet people in the water and you're like, these guys are scary. I don't want to paddle around. They just keep paddling past you, taking all the waves. It's like not a inviting sport. And embodying that full thing, I just could never see that. I could never do that. It wouldn't, I mean, maybe I think it's so important to have a repertoire of boards and sports and things that you do. It really does create your character and it develops you. And I think just identifying with one thing, you can do that, but it's definitely, you gotta be interested, be curious. Don't just get on one thing and be like, oh, and just discourage yourself from other things. You can do it. If you can do this, you can do other things. And it's like that. I think the wheel is like just a avenue to everything in my life. Like going to check the waves, walking the dog, setting up a show, taking down a show, FedExing something out, getting out of traffic.
It's everything. It crosses all the boxes.
Yeah. It crosses every box. Anybody that walks, anybody that is on this earth right now would benefit from a one wheel. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. It would, of course, you might be out $1,000, but that $1,000 is going to go significantly further than I would say.
Well, it's like, I mean, there's so many different angles of that. I mean, a lot of people focus on the monetary aspect of it. There's easy ways to break that down, right? Like, I always talk to people that's like, my mountain bike, carbon fiber mountain bike, not top of the line, not top tier mountain bike. It's a good mountain bike, $5,000 to $6,000, zero electronics on it. When people tell me that like a GT is expensive, I'm like, this is a top tier electric vehicle. This is actually pretty, like, when you break it down, it's pretty cheap compared to other things. Like, even a really good surfboard, well over $1,000.
$1,000, like, $990.
Like, for a piece of foam and fiberglass. Like, are you kidding me? You could buy a pint for that. And like, you could ride it every day, and you don't have to wait for the waves to be out. You could do all sorts of different things. Yes, it's not the same experience. And I think that's like the thing. It's like comparisons of things. Like, oh, well, I could buy this with that. And it's like, well, if you use a one wheel like every day for 2 years, the thing like cost you like nothing, right?
Paid for itself, easy.
It paid for itself. I kind of, that's how I view it too. Like, if that is what people put up as a barrier to entry, then it's like, well, what do you work hard? Like, what are you going to work hard towards? Right? Yeah. It's like you work hard towards things that you want. And if you can't afford it, then it's, you gotta work for things. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I would even say like too, like we don't necessarily like if you made we wouldn't want people to like if these things were cheap. Realistically, like we don't want people to be. I'm personally saying like if these things were $100, everybody would have them and be like it. You don't really want that. You want it to be at a level where it's like, hey, this is it's $1,000. This thing it's a solid device. It doesn't break down. You can knock it on the ground and knock it around, and you can't do that with too many things, I would say.
No.
So I mean that is like $1,000 device that's literally durable, and there's not many $1,000 things like your camera. If you drop that Sony right there,
oh dude,
done,
pretty much donezo unless you have insurance on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean some of these cameras are more than GT, and it's like again. What do you get out of it? How much are you using it? What are you using it for? Mm-hmm. So it's all that. It's like that value, what you value within what you buy. That's something we could talk forever on. Is that topic of like too expensive versus you don't want a cheap Onewheel.
No, you don't want a cheap
because then you would have to worry about it like really, really not being something you could rely on. Mm-hmm. Well, with that, kind of going back to the racing bit, you just raced recently in Let It Ride, right?
Yeah, Let It Ride, Vegas, baby.
The wild course that was put on with Joey Knuckles and Jamie and everything. How was that? I didn't get to go out there.
That was a sick event. Really good time. Gnarly course.
Yeah,
definitely hectic, little downhill. But it was a good time. All of us were pushed. I feel like our limits were definitely pushed. So that was cool to see. I would say definitely one of the gnarliest courses we have done. But I had a great time. Camping was really cool. It was fun hanging out with Bodie and Kyle, and yeah, it just was a good vibe. From last year, I would say they put a lot of work on that course. Like that course was made for Onewheels, and that was something I haven't really seen before. It was an actual course made for Onewheeling, so they killed it for that, and they did it literally within a week. So with some excavators, so that's pretty amazing. And I know Noah Build helped out with that trail. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was cool. They got a bunch of people helping out. Austin helped out. And yeah, apparently that hill was like a last minute decision. But
oh, really?
Yeah. But that hill was great. I mean, it definitely claimed some people, but it was killer. It was fun.
And what was the top four again?
Top four it was Jafari won.
Yeah.
Jeff Adair got second. Neil Bennett got third, and then Dave Stewart got fourth. Dave Stewart, dude.
Dave, I did an interview after one of Dave's Race for the Rail runs. I think it might have been not in Tahoe. It was in Snow Basin one year, and he was telling me, it was like 3 years ago, he's like, I'm pretty much done with this. I can't keep up with these guys. And I'm like, dude, Dave, you are the Race for the Rail legend. Like,
yeah.
And the fact that he's continuing to go out and still smoking everybody. I love it. It just shows like how unique Onewheel racing is, that you have this like huge age gap amongst, the field. And I think it's just, it's like what, the second year or so, first year, like it's still like the first year was like, okay. And then the second year, it's like, as this whole thing grows, I'm really interested to see what the top rider becomes, because Jafari won, super fast rider, but he's also very light.
Yep.
So he's able to utilize the power of certain boards more. And it makes me just think about like all other sports that require a specific physique to excel in. It's like with surfing, there's kind of like a surfer body,
yeah.
with track and field pole vaulting.
Yeah.
You kind of have a specific body that excels at that. With MotoGP or even equestrian racing, like the jockeys are all like kind of the same size, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see as this grows, like what the main one wheeler physique or body type becomes, because like I think that's going to play a huge role, like weight, obviously.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But that all develops, and I know a lot of people are interested in like weight classes and stuff, but it's like this isn't high school wrestling and you know, stuff. It's just like if you want to excel at this one sport, you will eventually need to like either cut weight or develop specific riding style
Yeah.
or like really train. You know, there are people that are really training. So I love all that stuff because it's so new. It's so fresh.
So new. Yeah.
Like it's literally been a handful of years. And like even 4 or 5 years ago, like Race for the Rail was, I think like when we were doing it at, in Tahoe is when it really started kind of taking off. And it's like, oh, these courses are going to get gnarlier. But, yeah, it's what me and Jack were talking about on the last episode is just like, we're still in the first decade of just one wheels existing.
That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing. So that's rad. The next race is Dirt Surfers.
Oak City.
Oak City.
City.
So yeah, and the reason I don't know a lot of this is because I'm not involved with the like ORL as I have been in the past. We've kind of, or at least I've stepped away. So
Yeah,
I
they
could
got the committee now.
So I could focus on like actual one wheel marketing stuff. But
Your actual job?
my actual job. So I actually like being kind of outside of it and asking questions about that. But that's super rad. It's a huge spread of the top 4.
Huge. Crazy.
That's so wild.
Yeah, it is. Like Dave, Jeff, and Jafari and Neil. I mean, Jafari is the youngest one there. That's
Oh, he crushes it.
He crushes it.
He's absolutely crusher. I remember
And this is his first year too, being 14. So and Adonijah's 13. He had 104. He was like,
he's going to come up next year.
He's going to be there next year.
Boom.
And he's going to be right up there.
Yeah.
And I think you're totally right. It's something to say, like these kids, these Groms, Micah Jones too, they send. Like they don't break. You know, these guys can take a hit and get right back on their feet. And
yeah, it's, you know how it is.
Yeah.
When you're younger, like nothing matters.
Yep.
And especially if you have an opportunity to win some money,
win cash as a kid,
win cash, and also just like excel at something that's brand new, pretty much. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of that opportunity and be grateful. And that's what I love about Jafari. He's such a grateful kid. You know?
he's so cool.
I remember like last year or something, I rode around the bluffs here, hung out for a little bit, stopped by the office.
He was asking about you, actually.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Is Laser coming?" Yeah.
Such a great kid.
Yeah, he's cool.
So with that, Tyler, stoked for the rest of the season.
Yes.
You're racing in all the races, right?
Yeah, I should be racing in all the races.
Heck yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm stock boy in it, you know?
Stock boy. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of things going on there. But you know what I always say? It's not about the board. It's about the rider.
Yep. Always.
Yeah. Level playing field about the rider.
Yep.
But we've come to the point in the podcast where we are going to do our giveaway.
Sick.
Every single podcast that we do will now have a special giveaway to do.
What are we giving away?
Well, I'm going to need you to open up this crate.
Oh.
And I have a prompt for the audience that they'll need to answer in the comments.
Cool.
So you have to subscribe to the Onewheel YouTube channel. You have to comment below with the answer to this prompt that I'm about to give you. And that is, when Tyler James came out to Santa Cruz to ride the GT for the first time, there's a video of it on YouTube. You got to go watch that video. What did Tyler call the GT when he stepped off it after riding it for the first time? Do you remember what you called it? I remember you said it, and we were all like, dude, I've never heard a Onewheel called that before. So go search that video.
I don't even remember.
It's like before the GT even came out. Tyler came out to Santa Cruz and rode GT, and he was like, dude, this thing is fill in the blank. And comment below. You have to be subscribed to the Onewheel YouTube channel to even be considered. And if you're not anyway, just subscribe, because it doesn't make sense if you're watching this and you're not, part of the family. So,
yeah.
All right. So open that up. We are going to give away a carbon fiber fender of the winner's choosing. So whether you have Pine X or GT, we're going to give away a carbon fiber fender. Nice. And whether you want it or not, Tyler James is going to sign that fender for you. So, and maybe we'll throw in a couple extra goodies. But again, answer the prompt, which is, what video on our YouTube channel did Tyler call the Onewheel GT something? It's like a surf word, but yeah, it'll be a carbon fiber fender of the winner's choosing. Pretty dope. All right, Tyler, we have a lot of things to do other than sit down and talk.
Yep.
It has been an absolute pleasure. I seriously can't tell you how happy I am to have you on our team, to have been able to develop a friendship with you. And I love your energy. And thank you again for joining me. I'm planning on having you on a bunch because we've been working on a few things together, some top secret up and coming things that will be coming out in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude.
Sick working with you. Appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
Always good hanging in podcasting
land. All right, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. You.